join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Actually, Director Thomas, you can lead please lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us.
Oh, all right. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation,
Nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
So would you like for me
Thank
to
you.
sing the national, should I sing the national anthem too, or what?
If how about at the end? We'll do that.
Okay.
Roll call. Rebecca, do we need
Okay,
roll call?
Director Ratterman,
Here.
do you want to make a quick statement?
Can you make that on my behalf?
Certainly. Director Ratterman is attending virtually under the provisions of AB 2449 due to illness.
Okay, thank you.
And Director Thomas.
Yes, I'm here.
Public comment. Do we have any public here? Anyone like to make a public comment?
Brian, would you like to make a public comment? This is the point in the meeting where we make public comment. Would you like to make a public comment?
Okay, seeing no public comment, we're going to move on item 3 on the agenda, approval of minutes. This
I'm
is
going to
an act-
suggest, I'd like to suggest that we keep that approval of these minutes for the next meeting since I was not here.
Okay. We'll recognize that as our way to go. Item 4, new business, federal legislative update. Mia.
Thank you. You probably all know that the federal government is still shut down. It's been 3 weeks. The Congress has not been able to come to agreement on a short-term continuing resolution to fund the federal government. Short-term would give Congress a little bit of time to work out the individual fiscal year 2026 appropriation bills. But at this point, we don't have a timetable. We'll just have to see if there's enough pressure applied to the members to come back to the negotiating table and at least get a short-term continuing resolution to get the federal government opened up again. Moving on to our issues. As you know, we've requested 3.1 million in Corps of Engineers funds in fiscal year 2026 to complete the Copper Cove project. Both Senator Schiff and Senator Padilla made that request to the Appropriations Subcommittee, which we're very excited about. We are still waiting to see the Senate Appropriations Bill to determine how that worked out. At the same time, we're also working administratively to have Congressman McClintock send forward the draft letter to the Assistant Secretary of the Army, Adam Tell, asking him to include the 3.1 million in the Corps' work plan when they get to that, when they do get the funding. And that request, I'm told, is under consideration in their office. So I am pestering on that. The second item that we have in play right now is we're laying the groundwork for a Water Resources Development Act request for WRDA 2026 to add $10 million to our existing Calaveras County Section 219 environmental infrastructure authorization. That would be to have the Corps construct the New Hogan raw water intake and transmission pipeline, which we talked about the last time. Basically taking raw water intake directly from New Hogan to replace the aging infiltration gallery that we have right in the Calaveras River, which is in a vulnerable spot and subject to sediment and algae and things that interfere with our treatment process. So we've submitted a request as kind of a prelude to the Corps under section 7001 that's under consideration. If that gets included in the Corps report, that's submitted as a part of WRDA. So it would kind of lay some nice groundwork for us as we seek language for an additional 10.5 million authorization in WRDA. So that's kind of on the authorization front. A third item is we are exploring federal funding to direct core funds to New Hogan Reservoir to help with the prevention of golden mussels infiltration into New Hogan. At this point, I'm working with the House Appropriations Committee to look at possible funding avenues there. We've talked to the Core Sacramento District, but I don't believe they put us in touch with the correct people who really understand the programs and the funding. We talked to the operations people. So I'm gonna reach out to the Core District again, but with a look towards dealing with the people who deal with the funding matters, to get a little bit more information from them. Also, I'm in the process of setting up your virtual appointments for later in October. We'll be meeting with Core headquarters and we can bring it up to them at that point too. I'll probably bring it up to Tab beforehand so he's up to speed on it. But at this point, I'm collecting information basically to see if we need some additional authority to have New Hogan covered as what's considered an invasive species, so the Corps could use funds for that. So that is in process right now. And then the final federal item is we've got a draft letter that we've sent on to Congressman McClintock's office for him to send to the Secretaries of Energy and Interior, requesting assistance, saying that he wants to work with them on concepts to streamline the FERC relicensing process for hydroelectric facilities. That letter is also under consideration in McClintock's office, and pushing to get both of those letters out before we have our visits. So those are two follow-up items, as you recall, that we had talked to the congressman about. He was excited about them. We've had a change of staff. We have a shutdown in the federal government. So, we pushed through all of that and they are getting attention now. So that's where those things stand right now. And also we're putting together our Washington trip for later in October. It's going to be a virtual trip, and that makes a lot of sense, especially right now, because things are getting more and more difficult, especially with staff being laid off, staff being furloughed, preparing principals for meetings, all of that kind of thing is getting a little trickier, but we are putting together the meetings. Thus far, we've got a pretty good schedule, so we proceed forward. That's it for now. Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Is our virtual visits dependent on the government reopening?
No.
Oh, so we're going to have them anyway. Michael.
Yep.
Have you noticed on October 29th, we got a lot of stuff going on, including a meeting with McClintock and Norfolk open house?
I have noticed. Yes, we do have a lot going on that day.
And we got a CARB. I think Damon is presenting it to CARB and on Zoom at 11. But our meeting with McClintock is right in the middle of that of our open house.
It's towards the end of that, so we're fine with that. I've talked to our team on the relicensing open house, and so I'll be at the McClintock meeting.
Okay.
Right.
We're all good.
We were in touch with that, but thank you for bringing that up. Lots going on.
Okay, no, I just saw my calendar getting crowded for that that day, and I was wondering if there was a couple overlapping things, but okay, good to hear. And is McClintock's new staff, or are you able to? Are they in the office? Are they around during this shutdown time?
Yeah, I can't tell you that they're 9 to 5. I don't know if anybody really is, but they are being responsive. Let's see. Frankly, not as responsive as I would like, but then I'm pushy. But they are getting back to me. They understand these letters are of critical importance, that you guys are aiming to meet with the congressman. We've had years of very successful meetings where the congressman has said yes, yes, and tell me where to sign. So it's an education process, but we're getting there.
Awesome. Mia, anything else?
No, that covers it.
Michael, do you have anything on the federal side?
I have a question for me. Well, maybe I'll save it for offline. I'll give you a call, Mia.
Okay.
It's a different topic.
I have a question for Mia. Mia, I heard you say that you had prepared a draft letter to send it to McClintock's office about the FERC procedural recommendation. But are we supplying or are you supplying a similar draft letter on the to go to the Army Corps? Or
On the funding matter, on the Copper Cove?
yeah.
Yeah, both letters are under consideration in Congressman McClintock's office. Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. If we have nothing further on federal stuff, Mia, I know you're busy. If you'd like to, if you could hang around if you'd like, or we're going to move on to a CARB report. Is Damon given the CARB report?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mia.
Thank you
Mia.
so much. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay. Damon, take it away. California Air Resource Board Clean Fleets Regulation Update. I heard something moved on this just recently.
Yes, thank you, Director Radaman. So would it be helpful if I provided a little background, or are we all up to speed on kind of, you know, up
No,
to
please,
this point?
Yeah, please provide a quick background. That is always
Okay.
helpful.
So Advanced Clean Fleets Regulation basically in April of 2023 set the timeline for the requirement for medium and heavy duty fleet vehicles in California, and essentially all drayage trucks to become electric. So urban and large fleets had a requirement of 2024 for compliance, and then low population county small fleets, which CCWD is, Calaveras County is, had a timeline for 2027. And then later on in that year, Eduardo Garcia submitted AB 1594, which essentially set the table for water, wastewater, and hydropower utilities to be able to kind of work with the Air Resources Board to draft amendments that did not put the safe provision of water and sewer services at odds with clean air. And that then set a timeline for the Air Resources Board staff to work on amendments to the Advanced Clean Fleets Regulation that would tip the cap to water, sewer, hydropower districts, electric companies in California. And while all that was taking place, the federal administration changed, and as a result, California withdrew its EPA waiver for the electric fleet requirement for all private fleets, but held firm on government fleets. And so for a minute there, everybody thought we were going to be off the hook ultimately. And then it kind of started over with the government fleet conversation. And then the amendment draft plan kind of refocused in earnest. And so in June of this year, kind of in consideration of all that, CCWD has been involved in all of these conversations through ACWA and Mountain Counties Water Resources Association. And while we were kind of having conversations with those groups, we realized it would really be helpful if Calaveras County Water District invited the CARB staff up and just worked to try to get them to understand what it is the regulation is going to ask of these small rural fleets and these in communities similar to ours. And so in June of this year, they came up and we had basically spent the day with them. We had a presentation that we provided them in the morning, and then we took them up to Arnold into White Pines, and then we shot over to West Point. So I have a presentation that I'm happy to share with you. It's up. See if we can share it. I'll definitely share it. Gotcha. Oh, you guys see it? Oh, I can kind of stand here. Take a look. Thank you. So we had, I want to say 6 CARB staffers here. We had Kelly G, myself, Pat, and Jesse. So we had external affairs and operations, brought them in the morning, and sat everyone down in our boardroom here and just talked about the complexion of our fleet and what Calaveras County Water District does. You know, started off with a picture from the Arrow fire, and then shared kind of the amount of infrastructure that we have and the services that we provide to our communities. And, you know, this slide is always really compelling, that talks about, you know, just the amount of service, the number of service areas we have, the amount of ground we cover from low elevation up to the high elevation. We talked about the fleet, kind of the applicable vehicles. We talked about the enterprise program, which, you know, the ACF has considered, you know, lease to own vehicles and open-ended lease programs in the provision of the regulations. So there's no opportunity for us to put this on enterprise, unfortunately. Wildfire conversation was very pointed with the CARB staff. They listened attentively and kind of worked through some footage of the Arrow fire, which, you know, they took a lot of notes. They paid attention. This is a great one right here. I guess see this, remember seeing this one again. And the fact that we can talk about this was just a year before this tour was a big deal also. So I think perhaps, and we talked about cross-country water and sewer systems, I think after hours issues, water line installs in remote areas. And I think these slides, the snow and particularly these images of Arnold in a 8-day power fail snowstorm had the most impact on CARB staff. This image, people talk to me directly about. And then these images, you know, having the phone company volunteer to raise the dead power lines so the highway could be reopened during the storm. These were really compelling images for the airborne staff. This one's great. Power lines across the highway again. CHP vehicle crushed by a tree. And then fire protection. And then, you know, how remote our facilities can be, in this case, the Bear Creek diversion, which provides water to the community of West Point. And then, you know, the ever-present issue of leak repair. And this is a very real issue and can be a critical emergency for folks who need a steady, reliable supply of water. So we dove into all that. And then we went out in the field and we went and had lunch at White Pines, and we took a drive. We have a road or a pipeline in the road on SPI property that goes basically from White Pines up to the Girl Scout camp. I think it's roughly 5-6 miles. And they just couldn't believe it, you know. And one thing that helped to illustrate to the CARB staff is that not only do you have to load a vehicle up with tools, but also you put that vehicle to work. And when it has to work harder as an electric vehicle, its range is going to diminish more quickly. And so that had a really big impact on CARB staff. So that was June of this year. And then in July, at the end of July, on the 29th, the CARB, they publicly released the draft ACF amendments. in consideration of 1594. And right out of the gate, the first thing that we noticed is that they pushed compliance for the regulation completely for low population counties out to 2030. So right out of the gate, the executive officer decided that we're gonna give the low population counties and small fleets, which are fleets of 10 vehicles or less, more time. And from what I was told by CARF staff is that was directly in relation to the tour that they took in Calaveras County. And when they were telling the executive officer of the air board their experiences, he just in a meeting just said, you know what, push those counties out to 2030, just right out of the gate. And what it did do for our urban counterparts is continue to put them on a 50-50 replacement. So for every 2 vehicles they buy per year, 1 has to be electric. So there were draft amendments you could submit comments up until September 15th. And CCWD participated with Aqua and helped to craft Aqua's comment letter that was submitted on the 15th. And then the 45-day language comment period was heard before the board, or the language was heard before the board on September 25th. So CCWD testified along with Mountain Counties, Aqua, Metropolitan Water District, Santa Clara Valley Water District. And we took a neutral position. We acknowledged that the steps that the Air Resources Board had made in pushing out regulation compliance for small fleets and low population counties out until 2030, but we kind of doubled down and asked that they afford the same opportunity to our urban and large fleet counterparts. Ultimately, the regulation was adopted, or the amendments were adopted as recommended by staff. However, there's also a 15-day language component in this whole provision of amending the ACF. So the thought was the 15-day language considerations would take a look at more pointed issues that have been raised relative to fleets and electric vehicles in 2025 and kind of work to refine additional changes that are going to happen in the regulation. And these are known as the 15-day amendments or the 15-day comment period amendments. And those don't have to go back before the board. A lot of what happened on September 25th in the Air Resources Board hearing was a debate amongst the board members on whether or not that should come back before the board, or should those 15-day language amendments just be approved by the executive officer? And it was determined by CARB's legal counsel that they could not come back before the board for whatever reason. They had to be just approved by the executive officer. And it was really interesting. We had board member Guerra essentially said this regulation is unworkable in its current state, and I want to see additional amendments. And CARB staff spent a lot of time in that hearing reassuring the directors that the message was heard and the executive officers' 15-day language changes would work to make the regulation workable, if that makes sense, if I'm speaking clearly. So that was really interesting. So kind of to wrap up, the 45-day language changes give our fleet until 2030 to comply. However, folks like EID still have to purchase vehicles 1-to-1. Every other vehicle has to be electric. So, but we're in the middle of working on additional amendments associated with the 15-day language that the executive officer can just wholeheartedly adopt without board approval. And so we continue to have meetings with the Air Resources Board. We're talking about exemptions is what we're focusing on right now. So there's a mutual aid exemption that CARB's considering. So currently it looks like if 25% of your fleet is electric, you can replace other medium and heavy duty vehicles with gas and diesel powered vehicles to address mutual aid concerns. Now we're working to get the 25% requirement reduced to 10%. And perhaps we can get it even lower. There's also a ZEV purchase exemption. So we're working on a language associated with a zero emission vehicle purchase exemption or near zero emission vehicle purchase exemption. And then there's also a daily usage exemption that we're working with the Air Resources Board to amend and change. And so the work continues. I know Mountain Counties is continuing to meet with CARB staff. There's a meeting on the 29th with Director Ortiz Legg from San Luis Obispo. And then there's a CARB Expo on November 5th that I will be participating in a roundtable with Dan Corcoran from EID and others in Oakland about electric vehicles. And so what we're hearing is from CARB staff is the earliest we can anticipate seeing 15-day changes publicly noticed is December, but they think that's pretty fast. So this could continue through December, January, February. I think it's interesting to note also that CARB Chair Leanne Randolph retired 5 days after the September 25th hearing, and she was replaced by Lauren Sanchez, who previously served as Governor Newsom's senior advisor on climate. So with that,
Wow.
anybody have any questions?
Thank you for that. I do recall meetings with staff early on, and they seemed to get it. They seemed, I mean, just 2 years ago, at least 2 years ago, and I'm pretty sure you were in those meetings back then, and where staff seemed to understand this problem without having to drag them up to the middle of the woods and show them. But it was it was the board understood it, and staff was reluctant. Am I getting that backwards, Damon, or is that
I think initially, right. I think initially the board was reluctant and staff was open to kind of hearing from us, and the board was not interested. And then, right, we've seen somewhat of a change, a shift over the past couple of years. And now it seems like we have a little bit of both. We have some directors, some board members that are very interested in hearing about amendments and changes and what that's going to look like for the safe provision of water and sewer services. And then we have staff that are also very interested and very candid, I might add. Some staff are very candid about their thoughts about the ACF. But at the same time, there are a few holdouts. And so really kind of working with those holdouts is kind of part of what this focus is currently.
From my understanding and what I hear out and about is everyone is very appreciative of Damon Wyckoff at CCWD for all your participation in this over the last couple of years. And I think a lot of people are aware that there's a lot of flurry around trying to get these tours at different, and I know EID did one as well. I think it was shortly after the CCWD one, and then there was several other districts that were trying to do the same thing. But I think from what I understand and what I believe is that the CCWD tour had already pretty much completed the task and got the message across. And now I understand a lot better why. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just chime in and add to that, Scott. I think that, unfortunately for CARB, they saw the best tour first, so all the other tours are going to be disappointing after this one. But
That's right.
But no, I think this came about because of a really persistent effort on Damon's part to educate those folks that have decision-making authority. And yeah, Damon deserves a lot of credit for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think one of the things that really kind of is driving me is how convoluted just simply understanding the ACF has been. And it's almost like this very sinewy puzzle that I've been trying to get all of us to really understand. And even to this day, you run into water and sewer districts that don't really have a full grasp of what's going on. And that's essentially because this rule is so complicated, and we really need to kind of clean it up. Yeah. So thanks.
Thank
One
you.
question. You mentioned when you began about, I thought I heard you say that our continuation working with the enterprise lease program won't work with these rules?
Well, what I mean is we can't, CCWD bears the responsibility for making the fleet comply with the ACF regulation. So were we to have to replace vehicles currently, let's say just for example, we had to buy electric vehicles right now. We could not say transition the responsibility of our fleet to enterprise or any other group. We would be responsible for that. So if we couldn't put compliance for the ACF regulation on enterprise, it's going to be on us. If we used a different group or if we leased a vehicle completely and ended up having to give it back at the end of the term, we would be responsible for that vehicle's compliance with the regulation. Because there's not only just, hey, you bought an electric vehicle, you're in compliance. We actually have to submit what's called a truckers report. And truckers is an acronym, TRUCRS, for all of our gas and diesel powered vehicles every 6 months. So what that is we actually hire a certified mechanic to plug into the OBD sensor of all of our vehicles. And that information is automatically reported to the air board. And what it tells them is, has anyone fudged emissions alarms or alerts or check engine alerts? And if they quote unquote fail the emissions test, then we have to have a conversation with the air board about that gas and diesel powered vehicle. And that trucker's report is linked to ACF. And so that's what I mean. Like if for some reason we were leasing vehicles and then planned to give them back at the end of the term and we didn't comply with truckers, we couldn't say, hey, enterprise is responsible for that. We would be responsible. Yeah.
Gotcha. Anything further, Director Thomas?
Well, I just wondered, does this, can I conclude that at some point we're going to have to say goodbye to the enterprise system?
No, I don't.
No, yeah, no, right. I mean, no.
I think it just, enterprise is going to give us what we order.
That's right.
And they're very good at that. But I think David's point is they're not going to check the order for ACF compliance.
That's correct.
That's going to be our responsibility. And if the vehicles are available, that's a whole nother question. But no, I think we could still use this, and it wouldn't surprise me if enterprise develops, for a cost. Maybe there is a module where they monitor that. They wouldn't accept that responsibility entirely, I don't think, and the air board wouldn't care if they did. They'd still, come after us. But
Right.
But I think as long as the vehicles are available, we could still use the enterprise program.
That's right. That's right.
But
So we've been talking for a couple of years about an off ramp, and this is a short off ramp. I don't think it goes anywhere yet. It's more of extending the off ramp and see where we've got to find out by 2030. And I agree, more work does have to be done on this. We still can't do this in 2030. Something else has to budge, but I'm so happy that some budging has taken place already.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Damon.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on. Item 4C, state ledge update. Kelly G, there he is. Who else is in the room? This is a bad angle for me.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Yeah, on that note too, I did attend the EID Centennial celebration just a few days after EID held theirs. And Dan from, their director of operations kept on talking about our presentation and our tour, and you can tell, it made an impact. He heard about how effective it was, and just, it goes to show that, yeah, we might not need a tour for those kinds of things, but we all know how unique our system is, and we all say it, but to really drive it and drive those roads, and then to see that road covered in snow and then actually be on it there was 2 different trucks on there. We were in the back and it was so dusty. It really painted that picture really well for the CARB staff too. So I think it made a huge difference. Obviously it made a huge difference. So with that said, a few items on the state ledge side. This is usually where I read every single one of those bills for you. So go ahead and get comfortable, get some coffee. This is a part that Jeff Davison really likes. But no, there's on Friday, the 10th, Governor Newsom signed about 23 different bills. A few of them are in that packet. Two that I'll mention is SB 394. That's co-sponsored by Los Virgenes Municipal Water District. This bill will allow local water agencies to adopt an ordinance with enhanced penalties for water theft from a fire hydrant. Additionally, the bill will remove the one-year reset on existing penalties for third and subsequent violations involving water theft committed through meter tampering and other methods. It will also help agencies recover damages by authorizing utilities to pursue civil remedies against any person who tampers with or diverts water from a fire hydrant without authorization. Another one in that packet that he signed was AB 1075, which this one kind of slipped under the radar for me. I didn't really notice this one, but it did catch my attention. And this one addresses regulations for privately contracted fire prevention resources, specifically their access to public water sources during active fire incidents. This regulation is for private firefighters. The bill would require privately contracted firefighters to obtain approval before connecting their equipment to public water sources during a fire incident. This aims to ensure that public firefighting resources are managed effectively and that private entities do not compromise public safety. So again, that one kind of snuck up on me. I didn't really notice that one leading up to this, but that was signed into law on Friday the 10th. And then, another thing that we're working on.
Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Quick question on that first one about the fire hydrant theft. Do we have we've been affected by that in the past? Do we have a policy or a strong policy maybe on how to enforce that?
That is certainly something we're looking at, especially in light of this new bill. So that is something that we are revisiting actually as of today, this morning. So yeah, that is something we're looking into.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I wanted to mention another thing. This is something that we want to more of an initiative. And the way I look at this initiative is kind of bridging the gap between legislative advocacy and external affairs. Michael has asked the management team to kind of put together, identify and rank the top 5 most impactful regulatory challenges that we face. Recently, we've had some strong community interest in reducing some of these regulatory burdens and improving cost efficiencies. Many residents have expressed a willingness to support some of these advocacy efforts and recognize that meaningful change will require collective action. So next steps on this, again, we're going to try to identify 5 the most impactful regulatory challenges that we face that drive some of these costs that we are incurring here. And we want to develop a unified advocacy to guide our outreach in that and engage the customers and the stakeholders and really kind of build a grassroots support from our ratepayers as well. And coordinate with regional partners like mountain counties for broader impact and really just inform our legislative strategy through future planning efforts. And again, I as I was listening to the CARB presentation and watching it again, thinking, how impactful that is for the CARB folks or any of these tours that we take some of the legislative folks out to really see it, kind of showcase that to our customers as well. So they really get to see what we're talking about here. I mean, obviously you don't see a huge participation from our ratepayers in a legal affairs committee, but I think this stuff drives so much of what we do. And I'd like to see our customers and just the community in general see some of these work efforts to get an understanding of what's going on kind of behind the curtains. So that there's going to be more to come on that. That is something we'll be bringing either back to this committee or the full board.
I have a comment on that as well. I think my email back and forth with one of our ratepayers, one of our customers in my district might have helped lead to this. Help Michael ask staff what are the top overburdened regulatory compliance issues that we have. Talking to Michael this morning, he says he's got like 25 of a list of 25 and trying to pare it down to 5. In the meantime, yesterday I was on a tour of the Placer County Water Agency. We did a advocacy tour with legislators, and I had the opportunity to introduce Diane Pappin. Again, I spent some time with her at our Ledge Day, and we spent time with her up in Murphy's about a year and a half ago as well. We also named her our Mountain Counties Water Resource Association inaugural legislator of the year. So we're giving her an award, and we publicly announced that yesterday, or I did during the initial meeting. And then we took a tour. Also on the tour was Senator Roger Nilo. Nilo, is that right? Yeah, Nilo. Anyway, I had a chance to talk to him later on in the day and told him about this, our regulatory overburdened regulatory, and he just latched right onto it. He said, I want to see that list. I need to see that. You need to get that to me, and I'm going to see what we might be able to do to help. Well, before I got home, I received an email. I didn't have a business card, and he didn't either. He called his staffer over, and she didn't have. She had the wrong bag. So I got this email. He says, it was nice to meet you today, though I didn't have a card to give you. Thanks to the power of the internet, I found your email address. So accept this as my email address. And as we discussed, send me your information regarding state regulations that make the operational life of your water district difficult. Thanks, and I hope our paths cross again. He also happens to be fraternity brothers with Tom Tryon, and asked him if you happen to see him, tell him hello for me. So I definitely will be in touch with him, and I'm looking forward to getting this list and sharing it with him, both him, who he's a Republican, as well as Diane Pappen. She's from San Mateo area. She's a Democrat, and both of them are interested in seeing what we come up with on this list. I think this could possibly go places, and I agree with you totally, Kelly, 100% that if we can rally around this with our customers, and have them be helping us, and with pushing these problems out there, it would be good to stand shoulder to shoulder with our ratepayers that been fighting some problems with the state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything further, Kelly, in your report?
Not for me, no.
Director Thomas, do you?
I was just kind of thinking about your comment about Tom Tryon being a fraternity brother. I didn't realize he went to college.
He went to Cal. I didn't catch what fraternity they were in. Geez, I may be their fraternity brother. Love to find out. Michael.
Kelly,
go ahead.
Was that there was a picture of Arnold in the snow? Was that one of your drone photographs?
No, that really good one. I think that might have been Gabriel. Gabriel's also another fantastic aerial photographer. He's taken some nice shots. So,
Yeah.
but you can almost see my house in it, though. It's close. If it's the one in the shopping center, I'm right behind it. But again, I think this all ties in kind of what we were saying. I think that kind of imagery and that kind of really showing what we're facing, whether it be environmental like storms or legislative advocacy. It's, all this goes into Calaveras County Water District. And so I think it's crucial to showcase that.
Well, there was one photograph that kind of caught my attention of that borate bomber flying past that cumulus cloud. That was one of my photographs. I need credit for that. Needed photo by Russ. So
yeah, I just, even some of the simple things that we might take for granted. I just had a conversation with someone not too long ago who I would have expected would have known this. They weren't clear that fire hydrants are supported by treated water. Again, this is someone that I would have expected who would know that, but and I obviously know that. Many of us in this room know that, but there's people out there that don't really realize that. So even those trivial things, which aren't trivial, need to be communicated.
I agree.
Thanks for your efforts, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good report. Thank you. Anything further on state ledge, Michael?
No, I don't think so, unless there's any questions.
Okay. General manager's report?
Nothing to report right now. I'll save it for next week. The big meeting.
Okay. I'm going to save my reports for next week as well. Director Thomas, what do you got to report?
Nothing to report at the moment.
Okay. Our next meeting, Tuesday, December 2nd. Most of the times these don't work out with my schedule for some reason or another. That's during the Aqua Conference in San Diego. That's so that one will probably not work out for anyone in the room.
You said the 22nd?
The second, Tuesday,
second.
December 2nd.
Yeah, that's first day of the conference.
Second, oh yeah, the JPIA stuff starts on, actually it's the third day for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we maybe Becca, can we work on getting that changed to the week before, the week after?
I will do that. Yep.
Awesome. Michael, you have any input on that? Where it might go?
The following week, potentially.
Okay. All right. Got my gavel and we're gonna adjourn this meeting.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Scott.